Hi YouTube. So welcome back to the second part of the Volvo EC550 hydraulic build. That's a long sentence. So I've got this mystery box laying on my bench today. The postman came with it and it's quite heavy. So hopefully this is the undercarriage for the Volvo EC550. We will see. I will unbox it right now and take a look. So this is what was inside the box. It's the metal undercarriage for the Volvo, and I got a little carried away and took the plastic off this. It looks pretty darn good actually. The other items I got was inside this black envelope. I got the missing piece, or sorry, the last piece for the bucket cylinder on the EC550. I talked about this piece earlier, that I was waiting for it. I'll go ahead and mount that later up. And here's the track motors. Now I can't see the size of them. I think these are the 555 motors. The same motors that we use on the track loaders. And we've got sprockets. Seems simple enough. They're also quite heavy. And we got the idler wheels with some nice springs on them. And this is a package, or this is a bag full of screws and nuts. And we have the rollers for the chain, or the tracks, sorry. And here's all the tracks. They come semi-assembled, it seems, which is nice. It's less work for me. So that's what I got in the box. Now I was planning on creating the slew ring myself, but looking at this, maybe I'm lucky and the slew rings that I already have fits in here. Give me a second, I'll look. No, it doesn't fit. But I'll easily create an adapter plate for this to make it go from this bolt circle to this bolt circle. Yeah, I'll do that. So I paid $349 for this package, or for this undercarriage, on the sale that was on 11th November on AliExpress. I think that's a fair price, actually. I got a lot of stuff here. I even got the motors. The only thing I'm missing, kind of, is the slew ring, but I already had that laying around, so I think this is a good deal. Hopefully these tracks are sturdy and reliable. We'll see about that once I get everything tested. But yeah, let's start assembling this and get it onto the excavator. So here's everything unwrapped from the plastic. What I noticed right away is that I didn't get any screws to mount the motors onto the undercarriage. Now luckily I have those screws laying in my shelf here, so I'm good with that. And it seems that so far those were the only screws that were missing. Now of course I didn't count all these track pads and all of these screws to mount the track pads, but we will see once I assemble them. I guess the first thing I should do is solder some wires onto the motors and run them up through the undercarriage, and then we can assemble the tracks and stuff. And probably I should design the adapter for the slew ring, but I'll get around to that once I know exactly how tall the tracks are. I need to know that before I design the adapter. Anyway, let's get to soldering and let's begin building. The motors are now mounted in place, and the next step will be to put on the sprockets. And when you mount these, you want to make sure that they are in the middle of the running gear. So both sprockets are now on. I did put in all the set screws. I just did 2 of them off camera, so don't worry, they're all there. Now I'm going to assemble the tracks, and we will create the adapter for the slew ring after that. Now, aren't these supposed to go in there? Yeah, they are. There's a hole down there. Let me show you. That's the hole. So, China, sorry, you failed me. So these springs, they are supposed to go in here, right? They don't fit between these bars. I could put this one in there without the spring, no problem. Like this. And what am I supposed to do with this then? I can't put it here, right? Because then this one won't be tensioned before it gets to that point. And this is its maximum. I don't know, man. So these are the springs that I use on my models. Now I'm going to check if they fit in here. I believe they should. So I put three springs on there. Yeah, they fit in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and use those springs instead. I'm not sure what they were thinking about this thing, but I'm not using that one. So now I'm going to assemble all the rollers for the tracks. So we have these M4 screws, and we got M4 nuts to put on. Yeah, so I assembled one, and when I tried to assemble this one, I noticed that this is a 3mm hole. All the others are 4mm. So now I'm going to have to drill this up to 4mm. Alright, so I'll assemble the rest of the rollers off camera, and I'll see you soon. And I assembled one more roller, and I came to another problem. You can already see what it is. How the heck am I supposed to put a roller on here? Now I'm going to have to cut this out of here. I mean, come on, man. So luckily this is not hard to remove. You just use a set of pliers and put some force on it, and it comes right off. I'm currently assembling the tracks, and they seem to be pretty good quality actually. They are very heavy, and as you can see they have really fat links on the inside here. And you assemble them with these screws and a lock nut on the back side. So I'm assembling one side now. I didn't drill this roller yet. I'm going to try that after I assemble this one. So there's 47 track pads on each side. Now I'm going to assemble the other side, and this is a tedious process, but it has to be done. And I was thinking I should mount the top rollers, but the screws, they are pretty darn long. I'll use these screws anyway, and since I don't have any, and I'm assuming I'm going to use these self-locking nuts on the back side. Alright, so the top rollers, they do need some spacers in between here, but there were no spacers in the package, so I'm going to have to create some to prevent them from going like this. Because the top rollers also has to line up with the sprocket and the idler. I just installed a 5mm nut there. I used that as a spacer. So I'll put the other ones on now. All the top rollers are now in place, and now I was thinking I should try to drill this hole. This is 3mm and it needs to be 4. So I'm going to try to drill this 3.5mm first, and then move on to 4. That was pretty easy. Lucky. So let's move on to 4. Let's mount it up. So all the rollers underneath are now mounted up. The sprockets and motors are in place, and the front idlers are also in place. So all I gotta do now is assemble the final track and then mount them up so I can create that adapter that I spoke about. So both tracks are now assembled, and as you can see, they sent me a lot of extras. I've got 12 pieces extra here, which is awesome. And the springs, I don't get to use those, but we've got some screws and nuts too. So it's time to mount the tracks onto the undercarriage. I was planning on maybe painting them, but I don't know yet. We will see. Oh yeah, also when mounting the tracks onto the undercarriage, make sure that you mount them with the screw heads out. It's much easier to, yeah, you know what I mean. This is pretty heavy. So I'm taking some measures of the bolt patterns and the slew ring, and I'm going to create the adapter in here so that I can fit the slew ring and we can mount the overcarriage onto this. So the adapter is now printed, and the plan was to have it sitting like this, and these wires should go through these grooves right here, and these outside holes right here will be facing down like this, and they are the same bolt pattern as these holes. And the inside holes, they line up with the holes on this one. So it will be sitting like this. And it should be perfect on the height over the tracks. So the floor on the overcarriage should be sitting about 17 millimeters from the tracks and up. So now I have to get this mounted underneath this one, and I already know that I messed up the holes here. I forgot to make grooves for the screws, so I might have to use my soldering iron here. And also I messed up the diameter of this thing. I should have it to fit perfectly in here, but I messed up. So instead of printing a new one, I'll just modify this one and put it on there. It's not that big of a deal. So the steel slew ring is now mounted onto the adapter, and unfortunately one of the holes on the slew ring didn't have threads in them. So I'm going with 5 bolts on this. I mean, quality control is just the best, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm going to test fit this one on the undercarriage now, and I'm going to screw the bolts from underneath up into these holes and make sure that everything fits. And after that we will mount this motor plate on top like this. And then we will mount this slew ring onto the overcarriage before we mount everything together on top of this undercarriage. So here we can see that all the holes line up perfectly, and I will screw in the bolts now to make sure that these holes on the plastic will be threaded and easy to install when we are mounting the overcarriage on here, or on the underside, sorry. So the slew ring and the swing motor is all mounted up, and it's looking pretty good actually. Here you can see the height over the tracks. You can imagine the floor laying on top of this piece. Yeah, I think this is going to be very good. And even after all the small issues I had with this undercarriage, I'm actually pretty happy with this. I think it looks great, and it's very heavy as I said earlier, so I think this is going to work very well with the machine. So I'm going to take off the slew ring now and mount it onto the overcarriage, and then we can mount these two together. But before I do that, I almost forgot, I have to put in the slip ring right here. To those that don't know what a slip ring is, it's a device that lets you have unlimited rotations where the wires won't tangle up. I have it over here. Let's see here. Here it is. Yeah, so I'm going to put this in here so that I don't have to worry about turning too much. So when you mount the slip ring onto the slew ring, you gotta make sure that you mount it the correct way, because one side is spinning and the other isn't. So that's the same with this thing. One side is spinning and the other isn't. So you gotta mount the piece that's not swinging on top here. So this spinning side right here should be mounted like this. I gotta cut off a bit of this because the motor is in the way, but yeah, you get the idea. Here we can see that I've soldered on some plugs for easy maintenance. So I'm going to mount this onto the overcarriage now. I found out that the ring gear in here actually hit the set screws on the pinion, so I'm going to have to put a spacer between here to make this, to make the gears come a little further down on the pinion. I might have to print out a spacer here, or wait a second, I might actually have one. Yeah, I do. So I'm going to put this spacer on and see if that fixes the problem. If it doesn't, I need a bigger or fatter spacer. So with the spacer on, I'm going to test it now. So it seems like it's working now. It had a little resistance somewhere in the gears, but hopefully it's not that bad. I'm going to mount this onto the overcarriage and just hope for the best. So with the slew ring on, it's time to mount the overcarriage onto the undercarriage. So there we go. Both the overcarriage and the undercarriage are now joined together, and wow, this looks so much better than I thought. Yeah, I'm very happy about this. And here's the rear of the machine. It's perfect. It's almost like the overcarriage was made for this undercarriage. Wow, I can't wait to actually finish this machine and get it up and running for some testing. It's basically it's ready now, but I want to finish the exterior of it, like finish the cabin and the top motor cover and stuff. Yeah, this is wrapping up pretty good. So overall, I am pretty happy with the undercarriage. There's some small faults here and there, but once I fix them, it's all good. And everybody with a set of tools can fix the small problems that I had. So this is going to be the end of part 2 of this build. Now I'm hoping to have this excavator finished by the end of this week, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, this wraps up this episode, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!